Olá pessoal, tudo bem com vocês? Aqui é Alexei Bueno novamente do canal Alexei Bueno, Espiritualidade e Viagem Astral, e hoje apresento a vocês uma nova entrevista de William Buhlman. Novamente traduzi e legendei esta entrevista que foi realizada por uma rádio lá dos Estados Unidos. William Buhlman estava pelo Skype, muito parecido com o nosso estilo de podcast em vídeo que nós temos em alguns canais. E gostei demais dessa entrevista e eu acredito que vocês também vão apreciá-la muito, porque Buhlman tem uma abordagem bastante metafísica com relação às suas próprias experiências pessoais, ao que ele tem escrito recentemente. Então ele comenta principalmente com relação aos benefícios que nós temos com esses estudos, com essa busca espiritual relacionada com as experiências fora do corpo, e também com um contato com o que o William Buhlman chama de eu superior ou a fonte, né? Que inclusive em algumas ordens iniciáticas como esotéricas, como a teosofia, estaria relacionado ao nosso princípio átmico, né? Ao nosso princípio de corpo causal. Então, Buhlman comenta muito sobre essa expansão da consciência que podemos obter e está no alcance de todos nós, relacionado a experiências fora do corpo, que é um objetivo muito interessante, esse contato com o eu superior. E também ele comenta sobre as realidades extrafísicas, as realidades consensuais, né? Então é muito amplo, ele aborda diversos assuntos sobre a nossa busca espiritual, sobre a própria evolução da consciência, sobre sistemas de crenças. Ele aborda diversas temáticas. O entrevistador foi muito experiente nas perguntas e foi conduzindo de uma forma que Buhlman comenta sobre os objetivos que ele tem atualmente nas experiências fora do corpo, que ele tenta passar nos cursos que ele realiza lá no Instituto Monroe. Então é uma entrevista permeada de diversos assuntos, mas no geral a gente tem a noção dos objetivos e quais metas podemos ter com relação a esse estudo, a essa busca, né, relacionada com as experiências fora do corpo, com a expansão de consciência, com a busca do eu interior, né? Qual o objetivo final que nós podemos esperar, podemos alcançar com essa experiência, o que podemos aprender, isso e muito mais. Sem mais delongas, então, vamos à entrevista, porque tem aí 1 hora de entrevista e vocês vão apreciá-la bastante. Até a próxima, pessoal!
Broadcasting from the UK and across the world on TV, radio and online. I bid you all good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in all the world's time zones. This is The Moore Show, and I'm your host, Kevin Moore. For the next hour, I'll be covering subjects that will open up your mind and provide you with information you may have never heard before. On today's show, I'm joined with William Buhlman. Now, William is a leading expert on out-of-body experiences. William has over 30 years of extensive personal out-of-body explorations, which has given him a unique and thought-provoking insight into this subject. As a certified hypnotherapist, William incorporates various methods into his lectures, including hypnosis, visualization, and meditation techniques in his workshops, to explore the various profound nature of out-of-body experiences and the benefits of accelerated personal development, through lectures, workshops, and his books. The author teaches the preparation and techniques of authentic spiritual exploration. William Buhlman, welcome to the show.
Hello, Kevin. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's great to have you on. And where in the States are you?
I'm in Maryland, just north of Baltimore.
Right. Okay. Well, that's wonderful to have you here. And, well, you know, your journey has started but more than 40 years ago, in a sense. But you actually started off as a bit of an atheist, you would say.
Yes, I did. No one could have convinced me that out-of-body experiences were real. I was a total agnostic, atheist, whatever you want to call it, back in the early 70s. I had rejected religion and the whole concept of this, let's just call it the spiritual paradigm. I did not believe it at all.
Well, actually, what is the difference between an out-of-body experience compared to a near-death experience?
Well, one is part of another. Let me explain both just quickly. A near-death experience is essentially the temporary biological death of the body, generally for a few minutes, where an element of the near-death experience is an out-of-body experience, or the separation of consciousness. An out-of-body experience, though, can happen and does happen often without any kind of trauma or any kind of, let's just say, physical death occurring. And many people, unfortunately, many people just connect these two as they're one, and it's not the case at all. Out-of-body experiences are much more common than near-death experiences, and they occur spontaneously often while people are asleep. And they can also be self-initiated, which is, of course, what I teach and what my books are about, how to self-initiate the experience so you can prove it to yourself and prove your own, let's just say, your immortality.
Okay. And how many of out-of-body experiences do you have then?
Everyone is different. I myself practice self-initiation. I do it on a regular basis. I use methods that I write about. There's 40 different methods that I have written about over the decades. And I and many people have them once a week is not uncommon. But everyone is different.
Yeah, absolutely. And, what is an out-of-body experience like for yourself?
Well, an out-of-body experience for me is different, and it's changed over the decades, because I had my first one in 72. And during my early experiences, they were very physical-like. It was like observing the physical world from a different perspective. There was minor changes, like the colors of the wall. And I noticed that as I become more comfortable, I began to realize that I was moving inward into this multidimensional universe. I found quickly that, the physical world is just the epidermis. And as we have an out-of-body experience, we move what, for lack of a better word, is into less dense and higher vibrational realities. And this just changes the environment that you experience. So different people, depending on your state of consciousness and the vibration or density of your energy body, you will experience different realities. So the diversity is immense. But most people at the beginning stages will experience almost a physical-like representation of their physical surroundings.
Right, so these higher vibrational states that you're able to go to, and anyone that's been trained to do such a thing can go there as well. Is this the dimension where we truly originally came from, in a sense?
Yes, there's no doubt that one of the things that I and others have discovered, we are a non-physical species. We have a tendency in our science and in our culture to just focus on matter. But we know from thousands of out-of-body experiences, of millions of people having these experiences, that the physical world is the epidermis layer. And when you have an out-of-body experience, you're moving inward into the less dense core, let's say, of the universe. And in that, you begin to move towards an environment that is truly our home. Because let's face it, think about it from this vantage point. We're all visitors, aren't we? We're all here for 70, 80, maybe 90 years. But we're only visitors, temporarily inhabiting a biological vehicle of consciousness. We are pure consciousness. And as consciousness, we exist without a body, because that's truly what we are. So we have a tendency to, and we have the potential of actually going to and experiencing in full awareness our true home, which is beyond the body. That's our source. That's our true nature. And that is our true home. So it's exciting. It's an exciting exploration because you get a chance to experience your true self and your true environment, not this temporary facade that we call matter.
What are some of the qualities, would you say, of our true self?
Well, first, it's non-physical. It has no form. It has no substance as we know it. And as a non-physical species, we are consciousness. We're incredibly creative, wonderful beings that have the ability to create our reality within every level of the universe. And we do this through our thoughts. During out-of-body experience, another thing that we have discovered is that the universe becomes progressively more thought responsive. And this is important because if we begin to connect to our own potential to create. In other words, as we move inward through out-of-body experiences, each, let's just say, level or dimension or reality we encounter becomes progressively more thought responsive, less dense, and more easier for us to, let's just say, create our reality in very elegant ways. Now, unfortunately, in the past, like in biblical texts, these realities were called heaven. But we know now that the word heaven is, of course, a misnomer. It's just an endless series of dimensions. And it's funny, this dovetails absolutely with quantum physics, which talks about this idea of 12, 13, 14 dimensions. But we experience it firsthand when you have an out-of-body experience. And it's incredibly exciting exploration because of that.
Absolutely. And would you say it's as real as this existence, in a sense, or does it feel more real?
It's absolutely as real as the physical world. Reality is relative to your vibrational density. That's one thing that I've discovered and experienced many, many times. In other words, two jet planes next to one another going at 600 miles an hour, you look outside your window and it looks like you're both standing still because you're both traveling at the same speed. The same is true with our vibrational states. Just everyone in these different vibrational dimensions, when we die, for instance, we drop our physical body and we experience our less dense energy body, but our surrounding is equally less dense. It is still form-based for most people, what they experience. It's still solid to us. It's not this airy-fairy experience that many people have, let's just say, have talked about. It's a very solid experience because it's all about the relative density of you and your surroundings. And this is a very important point because many people, it's so real, many people don't even recognize. That's what gets to be kind of wild. People have out-of-body experiences and they don't even recognize it until they try to, let's say, put their hand through the refrigerator and try to open it or something like that. I get thousands of letters about this. They try to get water from their sink and they try to turn on the physical water and their hand goes through it. That's when they realize, oh my God. So it's a very physical-like experience for most people.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, receiving those kind of letters. Would you say that when we're having an out-of-body experience, that we're more loving? We come from less. We have more care for each other when we're there. We come from all the qualities that could be associated with the soul, and all those negative sides of us. They're sort of transformed in a way.
Well, that's not what I've experienced. What I have experienced and what I receive tremendous, because my books are in 12 languages, I get tremendous amount of feedback. And what I've experienced and the results that I have seen is that surprisingly, we take our state of consciousness with us. We're not some kind of magically transformed. Now, there are shifts of consciousness that occur. Now, I want to make that clear. But overall, you carry your state of consciousness with you during your out-of-body experience. There may be certain elements of you that may change. Some people are more, let's just say, they may be more spontaneous. They may be more creative. But I'm talking about overall. The same applies, I've found, in the afterlife. People continue to carry their state of consciousness. For instance, I'll give you a classic. If you have fears, you will take your fears with you. They don't just magically disappear. And this is what I mean by your state of consciousness with you. If you have any kind of anxiety, you will take that with you into your state because it's still your functioning state of consciousness. The only thing
issues
that
as well. Would you take your issues with you as well?
Absolutely. And the shaman have been saying this for thousands of years. This is a common phenomenon. And I know many people would like to believe something other than this. This is why it's so important for us to work on ourselves, to remove our fears, our limits, our blocks, because these are the things that are inhibiting our progress.
Yeah, but some people are addicted to, nurturing that side and transforming it. I mean, is that wrong on this level? As in, not, I don't know. There's some people that never seem to change in a sense, and yet they could still be called spiritual.
Well, everybody is slowly evolving and changing. That's how I feel. That is the whole purpose of reincarnation, is to evolve through different forms and change. It is a slow process. Basically what you're saying, it's a slow process. And yes, I agree. For most people, it is a very slow process. But one of the things I would like to bring up, so just to expand upon this, the very act of having an out-of-body experience does change people. Now, I want to make this clear. I talk about 28 major benefits in my books. In other words, you're suddenly, a whole new world opens up. You suddenly most people become more spiritual. They become more, let's just say, suddenly this whole new dimensional realities open to them. It's mind expanding. So there are shifts of consciousness that is initiated by the OBE state. In the very act of doing them, create often a more, let's just say, a broader understanding of the nature of reality.
Yeah.
And that changes you. But at its core, I just want to give both sides of the story here.
Sure.
That people think that they're become enlightened just because they have one experience. That's not been what I have seen over my 40 years. Generally it's a slow process, but it's accelerated much because of our expanded exploration of consciousness.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm sure that having a out-of-body experience, you realize, you're not your possessions, you're not your wealth, you're not your ego.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a big deal for people. And most importantly, you prove to yourself, without a question, that you are immortal, that you continue. And many people, it's only a theory until you have the experience, and that's a big opener for people, because suddenly your whole mind is expanded into a whole new area of what you are and what your nature is. And that often will make people a lot more, let's just say, more spiritual minded, because they know that there's a continuation.
Well, just going back to the issue as well, when we talked about people, carrying on their issues when they pass on, what surely they came down with lessons to learn and to have these issues given to them in a sense, so they can learn from them. I mean, they never were their issues in the first place before they came here, were they?
Well, it depends on your viewpoint. Based on, let's just say, my and other people's experience, many of us have been here many times before. And we know that from the number of people that are born and at very young ages already have a lot of fears. In other words, we don't arrive here with a total clean slate. We often will carry our, let's just say, call it past life or whatever you wish to call it. but often we are carrying with us our, let's just say, past life images, past life issues, and that they still need to be resolved. For instance, fears. There's many people that today are afraid to fly, or they're afraid to, even at a young age, they have phobias and fears. There's children that have phobias and fears. Where did these phobias and fears? On the flip side, there's also children born like Mozart that have incredible skills. They're great musicians and composers at a young age. We all bring our, let's say, elements of our past with us because it's embedded in our state of consciousness.
Right. Right. Okay, well, look, we will come straight back to this, and we're just going to take a short break, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
The More Show is in partnership with Ozark Mountain Publishing, taking readers beyond the unexplained. The More Show is supported by Mindscape, Paranormal and UFO Matrix magazines, available for download on all major digital platforms. The comments and views expressed on The More Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the view of Kevin Moore, The More Show, or this radio station and its affiliate or sponsors. This show is for entertainment purposes only.
Welcome back to the show. I'm still joined by my guest, William Buhlman. William, welcome back to the show.
Pleasure to be here.
Now, just going on what we were saying before the ad break there, just very, very quickly. So really, to heal our fears while we're still here in this reality, it's a real bonus to when we move on.
Well, yes. One of the benefits of out-of-body exploration is that we will begin to, in a sense, confront our own fears in that state of consciousness. Because remember, we're entering a very thought-responsive environment when we have an out-of-body experience. And I'm not the first. The shaman talk about this for 2,000 years, because people will confront their own fears. They'll confront their own issues because they're entering into a very, very thought-responsive environment. And in that environment, things will manifest very quickly. So we have to be prepared. And it's one of the things I teach in my 6-day workshop at the Monroe Institute is how to handle these. And these are opportunities. This is not a negative, by the way. This is an incredible positive because it gives us the opportunity to accelerate our personal evolution, the evolution of consciousness, by actually confronting our issues in a non-threatening, non-physical environment where we can deal with it and resolve it very elegantly. Let's face it, what are most people going through in their physical lives? Most people are going through issue to issue, drama to drama. I mean, are they not? Throughout their lives, there's a series of conflicts that people will have to handle. And a lot of times in the physical world, these things are very difficult. In the non-physical environments, we can do the same, except in a much more, let's just say much more quickly and without physical trauma attached to it. And this is important. It's a benefit. It's a huge benefit. The Tibetan Buddhists talk about this. The shaman in every culture talk about this. It's all part of our accelerated evolution of consciousness as we explore our inner self, our multidimensional capabilities.
Mm-hmm. Do you know, I've just had a bit of a aha moment in the sense that, you mentioned there how it's a quicker process to heal our issues on the other side. I think personally, because we know our connection to source, and how much more rewarding would it be to heal those issues on the planet Earth where you don't know, you've forgotten your connection to source, and you're really finding your true nature again. And it really means that, you have healed those issues, and it's not been taken down the easy path in a sense, if I'm making sense.
Well, the closer, I'm glad you bring up the concept of source, because often people forget when we have an out-of-body experience, we're closer to our source. And as such, we are closer to the source of all that is part of us. And we can heal these issues. We're closer to the source, the energy source, let's call it, of all of the things that we're dealing with in this life. And the very act of being closer to the source, it gives us this great opportunity to heal ourselves on every level. Another issue is that we can experience our source. One of the things that I teach in my workshops is to, during your out-of-body experience, is to use a technique to, in a sense, demand, request, whatever phrase you wish to use. In other words, a powerful phrase like, now I experience my higher self, or now I experience my spiritual source, or whatever phrase resonates with you. During your out-of-body experience, you can use the out-of-body experience to actually have a profound spiritual awakening. And this is what I've been teaching for now over 20 years. This is one of the core teachings that I have in my books and my workshops about how to accelerate our spiritual evolution. And it's exciting because we have that capacity. And because of this whole idea of we have the ability to connect to source. The only thing that stops us is ourselves and our mind and our, let's just say, our dense self-conception. Once we break free of that, we have the ability to have profound experiences and awaken every element of our consciousness. And that is incredibly exciting for all of humanity.
Well, what do you think someone like an atheist, someone like that, who you were, 40 years ago, of course, you're not that person anymore. What do you think an atheist is missing out on, in a sense? I mean, they don't have to be atheists, but anyone that's not really thinking about these subjects.
Well, they're just, in a sense, they've, as the Buddhists would say, they have accepted the illusions of matter. And that's exactly what is happening. They have accepted this temporary facade that we call the physical world. And let's face it, it is temporary. We're immortal beings evolving, and we're only here for a brief period of time. So they have bought into and assimilated within what some people today call the physical matrix. I mean, and they think that's the only reality. And it takes meditation, deep meditation, or some kind of awakening of consciousness. And then you suddenly become aware of the great light. It's like, oh my God, this reality is just one little aspect of me. This reality is so temporary. I have this capacity to experience all these other immense, let's just say, beautiful, magnificent levels of reality within myself. And this is that awakening that occurs. And it's through, sometimes it's meditation, sometimes it's shamanism, but often, whatever label you give to it, what is happening? You're moving, you're expanding your consciousness beyond your physical limits. And that's what an out-of-body experience is. You're moving beyond the narrow limits of your body and beginning to connect with your multidimensional self. And that is what's, unfortunately, the atheists and all are really missing out on an exciting aspect of themselves. But eventually, let's face it, everyone, all 7 billion of us will have an out-of-body experience.
Well, that's it.
There's no escaping it.
That's it. And
that's why we should learn about it.
Yeah, and we all have one thing in common, that's death as well.
Yes,
we don't want to face that.
And what is death but the transition of consciousness through an out-of-body experience?
Yeah.
That's what it truly is.
Yeah. Or rebirth, if you even want to call it, depending. That's what some people call it, rebirth.
You move it, where you're moving beyond the body.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's all an out-of-body experience. It's one of the core 7 elements of a near-death experience. And it's a central part of who we are, because we are a non-physical species.
Well, as far as you understand it then, and with the amount of out-of-body experiences you've had, what is the purpose of the soul?
So I look at the soul as our core consciousness. The word soul has had so many connotations, so much semantics is attached to the word soul, that often I don't even use the term. I look at it as our core, our essential state of consciousness that exists beyond all form-based realities, beyond the astral, beyond even our thought body. Just that essential core element that is us. And that is what we have the opportunity to experience during an out-of-body experience. We have the ability to go beyond not only the physical body, but beyond the astral body and the intellectual body, and experience our true self, which is a non-form-based reality, a non-form-based self. It's just exciting.
Oh, yeah. But it's kind of like exploring our future home in a sense, isn't it?
Yes. Exploring and experiencing not only our future home, but our true self, which is such an eye-opener, because we're magnificent, creative, immortal beings. We are incredibly multidimensional. Most people don't think about it, but think of this for a moment. Right now, all 7 billion people are projecting their consciousness temporarily into their bodies. Everyone is projecting their consciousness into these temporary vehicles. This is not who we are. Every plant, every insect, it's all a projection of consciousness. And an out-of-body experience is just our way of going and re-experiencing our home.
I guess you could say it's a way of going inwards in a sense.
Yes, because it's a much more subtle reality. The physical world, and we know this for a fact, is it's a thin epidermis layer. The universe is 99.9% non-physical. Science just calls it dark matter. They have all these terms for all this stuff they can't explain. But we know, those of us who have out-of-body experiences know that the physical world is this thin, it's like the membrane, the outer skin of an apple. That's all that it is. It's a tiny element of the universe, actually. And it's the end result of the inner workings of the universe. It's not, everybody thinks of the physical world as being the stable model of reality, when it's not. It's the outer result of the reality of our thoughts, of our projection of consciousness.
It's incredible, isn't it? And
Yes.
when people think of home or heaven, whichever term you want to call it, we think of just going to one place. But I've been reading books, and especially yours, where there's multi-universes, like multi-dimensions. There's dimensions upon dimensions.
Yes, indeed. There's no doubt. I call it consensus realities. There's many, many dimensions. And this has been written about for thousands of years. I describe countless dimensions and millions of consensus realities. We have to remember what the word heaven was a very early description of a thought-responsive reality. And what was never clarified in a lot of the biblical text is the fact that there are millions of consensus realities, because they are created by thought and group thought, a collective of individuals that get together, that hold the same beliefs, that hold the same state of consciousness. They create their own realities. In a sense, London is a consensus reality. Every city, it's the same kind of process at work. Human thought creating a collective. And this continues in the non-physical realities. And there's millions of these. And these dimensions continue, and each progressive one becomes more and more subtle, less dense, and more thought responsive. And to be honest, no one knows how many there are. That the theory of 7 is childish. It's many more than 7. No one truly knows for sure. What we do know is that the physical world is the epidermis, though, and that we have the ability to experience these other dimensions. And that's magnificent. And it's truly our home is in the non-physical.
So when we do pass, then, not to remember that this level that we've gone to is not the only level.
Oh, absolutely. One of the things that I try to teach, and I have in my new book, is the fact that there are many consensus realities and that we have choices to be made even after death. Many people think that there's no choices. There's always choices. Yes, you will find yourself in a reality that's comfortable for you at the moment of death. And yes, based on all the research, you will be joined by loved ones. But there's other choices to be had. There's other realities, countless realities. Most people be reunited with their loved ones in a consensus reality that's very much physical-like. But doesn't mean that that's where we stop.
No.
We have the capacity to explore all of the other realities that exist if we just open up to this potential, because we are creative, powerful spiritual beings. And we have the capacity to mold our reality, not only now, but on every level, within every energy level of the universe.
Do you think there's universities and schools to go to where you can learn about the universe and stuff? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I write about this extensively in Adventures in the Afterlife, about how people go to schools that teach people how to become more consciously multidimensional, how to awaken their, let's just say, awareness and increase their vibration rate so they have the ability to explore, let's just say, higher dimensions. For instance, I do workshops at the Monroe Institute. We teach people how to leave their body and to move to higher vibrational levels. And we've been doing it for 40 years at the Institute. But in the astral or in these other dimensions, there's schools that teach people how to go beyond the astral, how to go to higher levels, beyond form, beyond all the concepts that we take for granted. And this is exciting. There's schools within schools within schools.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot to look forward to, but it is very important as well to be grounded in this life, because we've chosen to come here. So it is important to see it through in a sense and be fully present.
Yes, it is, and I also teach that it doesn't mean that this world and what we're doing is unimportant. This is where we are. We have a mission that we have come here to accomplish. We're all here to learn, to grow, to express, let's just say, the better qualities of consciousness. And of course, this is important. But for some of us, many of us, millions of us, we want to know the answers. We want to know where we come from and what we are and what's our purpose and where we're going. I mean, these are important questions. We want to know the nature of ourselves in the universe. And that's why people really millions of people look at out-of-body exploration as a way to begin this inner journey of consciousness. In a way, it's similar to yoga, or to, let's just say, deep meditation, where you go inward. You're going inward. And it's the same. It's an expansion of consciousness, but it doesn't negate the importance of where we are here and now.
Right.
It's never an escapism.
Right. But
it's always an expansion.
But obviously some people just want to be told what to think. They want to be told what to do, and that's what they do.
Yes, and that's unfortunate. That's why I rail against the belief system so much, as many people are aware of in my writing and in my talks. Most people have essentially, and I'm talking about of the 7 billion people that currently inhabit the earth, let's face it, most people have assimilated within some kind of psychological belief system box. They have accepted religions, they've accepted limits, they've accepted even the fact that they're human beings. I mean, in other words, most people have accepted a lot of times their childhood beliefs, and they've built this box around themselves. And that's where the limits lie, because we are more than we've been told in our youth. We're more than we've been told by our religions, by our governments. We are so much more. We are, for instance, the mainstay of all human civilization is the concept that we are human, that we're physical beings. Yet we know for a fact that that is completely false. We're a non-physical species, temporarily using a biological body to experience the physical world, to grow, to learn, and to express ourselves. And this is part of our learning. We learn by being that which we wish to learn. For instance, if you wanted to know what it's like to be a woman, you could read 1,000 books. You would never know, you and I as men would never know what it's like to be a woman. But one incarnation as a woman, you know it because you've experienced it. Evolution is about experiencing that which you wish to learn. That's how we learn, because that's true learning. You internalize it. Many people don't think of this, but this is an integral part of the way that consciousness evolves. All consciousness, every blade of grass, every tree, every human. We're all evolving by being. And then we move on. And we experience a different kind of form and a different kind of consciousness.
Yeah, I mean, what you're expressing there is almost like the source entity which we come from, is a very intellectual energy. And, and this way of having what the experience that we're having allows the source to have a sort of emotional empathy, in a sense, to the experience and to have some sort of emotional truth to it. I don't know.
Well, I think we exist beyond emotion. We exist beyond the emotional body, which is the astral body. We exist beyond the intellect. That's one of the things that I've learned over the decades. And you can't explain it because the mind is also a vehicle and a tool that we use. And we identify with it because we use it so much. As a writer, I've written books, so I use my mind extensively. It doesn't mean that I am it, though. That's what really gets exciting, this idea that I am beyond even my emotions and my mind. There's a core part of me that exists beyond that.
Right. So
that's who we truly are.
Right. So you wouldn't say emotions are the only true fact then?
No. I think that's one of the things that's an astral thing that's experienced with our emotional body. And that's part of being human, of course, but we exist beyond the intellect. We exist beyond cause and effect, beyond linear time. And it's not something you can intellectually. No. This is why having these experiences are so important. Yeah. And people get caught up in the intellect, and they miss sometimes the true nature of reality exists beyond that.
Yeah. And there's no real words you can put to it neither. That's why,
No,
I can't. There isn't. No matter what we say, it's beyond words. So, look, we're just going to take a quick break and we'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the show. I'm still joined by my guest, William Buhlman. Now, William, just before the ad break there, I just wanted to talk about some of the levels that you've been to. How high a level have you gone?
Well, it's not about height, number one. It's about going inward and experiencing yourself, which is your non-physical essence. And not only but I have taught thousands of people to experience what is commonly referred to as our higher self. During an out-of-body experience, you move away from your body and then you demand it. Now I experience my higher self, or whatever term means that to you. Spiritual essence, core self, source, whatever it is, we have that capacity. And I write about this. I have been fortunate enough, because I have repeated this time and time again, to have experiences where it's way beyond thought. I've had experiences that are way beyond the mind, way beyond linear time. And they're exciting, but not just me. It's not about me. Many thousands and thousands and millions of people are having these experiences. And because they've opened themselves up to this capacity. And out-of-body experiences give us that, let's just say that opportunity, that window, that we can begin to let go. But you also have to let go of the fears. People forget it isn't just some magical event. People like including myself, we've worked on ourselves. I worked on fear removal, of getting rid of all the false and, let's just say, flawed beliefs of my childhood, which, by the way, are thousands. All the things that, let's just say, I've accepted as real that are flawed, like the Buddha would say, the illusions. I mean, there's many things that we have to clear ourselves up to have these experiences. But all of us, because this is what we are, all of us have the capacity to experience our true self and to have these experiences if we just take the time to learn about the techniques and to practice them. It's like meditation. I tell people all the time, this is just like meditation. You do it every day, half an hour a day. You practice your technique. And eventually you open up to the fact that you can have the experience. Some people it takes days, some people's it takes months. Everyone's different. But it's our universal potential that all of us share.
Yeah, and when you mention that you've got rid of a lot of your issues by doing different parts of work on them as well, and would you use the word transform?
Well, yes, I think so. I mean, that goes for any time you work on yourself and really address your own issues. You have to be very critical of all the beliefs. You have to analyze yourself to a point and begin to look at yourself objectively. And begin to, for instance, look at all the childhood beliefs we accept, all the religious beliefs, even the very belief that we're a biological being, when we're not. We're not.
Well,
That's a lot.
Yeah, or
people don't think of it because because millions of billions of people believe the same thing, it doesn't mean that it is the core truth of our essence.
No, I mean, I never believe
I'm not the only one have said this. Buddha's said this. Shaman have been saying it. It's up to us to begin to, let's just say, work and to explore ourselves and to transform ourselves. It's an inner journey of consciousness that we all share.
Yeah, I mean, I never believed that we've all sinned and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it all always felt very negative to me, and it just didn't fit with my.
Now that you mention that, most people have been taught that from birth, that we're all born in sin, that the fear, damnation. Look at all the fears that are ingrained in us at a very young age. In all the cultures, not just a Judeo-Christian culture, Islamic culture. We are inundated, programmed with fears at a very young age, even fear of God, for God's sake, which is crazy. But fear, sin. What's one of the lines from the Bible? That sin and death, they equate the two. I mean, it's a constant hammering that's done to our state of consciousness at a very young age. We have to get over that. We have to examine these things and purge ourselves of, let's just say, false and flawed beliefs.
Absolutely. And with yourself then, I mean, we'll move on very shortly, but with some of these experiences that you've had, on some of these out-of-body experiences that were the most memorable, what were some of I mean, did you get to meet, sort of masters and, elevated sort of spiritual teachers in a sense, or?
Some people report that. I have not as such. Not as what you would perceive it. I've met non-physical beings. I've never met anybody that is what you would call famous in the physical world that many people talk about. But people report, let's just say, meeting evolved non-physical beings that assist them. And I've had those type of experiences. But I think my most memorable experience for me was just the experience of floating in this sea of pure light, going beyond form, going beyond any concept of the mind, and this total bliss of just pure connectiveness with this sea of light and pure consciousness. There's no words, of course. I try to describe this in a book, in my latest book, and it's difficult because it's a non-form-based reality, and it's beyond their concepts of thought. It's pure beingness. That, to me, was my most profound experience that I've had over the many years. But what's more important is that it's not just me. It's millions of people are having these experiences today. They don't know how to, many people don't know how to even, you can't even talk about it because there's no reference points. So a lot of times people would just hold it in because how can you describe something that's indescribable? But this is available to us, and that's where the answers are. The answers are never found in beliefs. All man-made beliefs are flawed. It's up to us to become explorers of consciousness and seek. Even Jesus said, seek the kingdom of God, or what I would term the multidimensional universe. It's up to us to become explorers of consciousness because no one can give us the answers. No book can give you the answers. I'm probably the only author that says that. But it's all about us learning how to move inward within ourselves and experience our true self. That's where the answers are found. And that's why this is so important to humanity.
Yes.
Because this will accelerate the entire evolution, not only individually, but it will accelerate the entire evolution of our entire species.
So it's okay to have a different truth to someone else, but where's that boundary line of what is so there is no right truth? That's what you're saying, and that would scare a lot of people, especially some of my religious friends, which I have a few, and we have these debates, and they say,
Yes.
You're telling me these potentials of this could be this or it could be that, and I never say to them it is, but they say that they found the solace in the Bible where it is the truth. This truth makes sense, and I always say to them, well, if that's your path, that's where you should be. Truth is down to our own understanding of what we believe to be true and what feels right, what feels to be right for our own truth.
Well, we have to remember people are indoctrinated at a very young age. The same people that that are Christians, what religion would they have been if they were born in Iran or India? They would have been Muslims or Hindus. What would have been their truth then? Truth doesn't change. Truth remains the same. That's why I feel out-of-body experiences is so important for all of us, because accepting the words from a book, I don't feel are truth. That no more than any book. It's our journey to discover the truth through our own profound experiences. That's why Buddha created the Eightfold Path, for people to have experiences, to go inward. The problem with beliefs is that people hang their hat on the beliefs and they stop seeking. And I feel that's a block, because it's up to us to expand our consciousness and explore for ourselves, to develop ourselves to the point where we can begin to experience beyond this physical facade. In other words, to empower ourselves to have our own spiritual experiences. That's the core of what I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
And not depend on a book anymore. Yeah. I don't care how well written it is. And including my own books. This is about becoming self-empowered and becoming experiencing your spiritual essence, and not being slanted and manipulated or indoctrinated by any religion or any belief system.
Yeah. And also I would say that no matter where you are with your life, if you're not happy with the way you are right now, exploring this side of it could change that. It would change that. And you can have the life you want, and you can manifest what you want. And the things that you would manifest may not be the things that you really want in the end.
Right. Our ability to experience and explore our multidimensional self opens us up to our creative capacities. We begin to realize that we create reality. When you're out of body, you can create things instantly, depending on your vibrational state. And it's a mind opener. It's a mind expander, because suddenly you realize, oh my God, I have the ability to create my reality. And I can do it just through the focus of my own mind. And that's one of the great things we're here to learn.
Yeah.
That's why we have a mind and a creative aspect to our state of consciousness, so we can learn to create our reality on every level.
That's right.
This is incredibly important to our evolutionary cycle. This is one of the things we're learning, because the physical world is a slowed down reality, and it takes more focus to create.
And we're not a victim neither.
Exactly. The worst state of consciousness, the most limited state of consciousness we can possibly have and internalize, is one where we limit ourselves. And this is what is happening to much of humanity. They limit themselves when they buy into any man-made belief system, because you are putting yourself in a man-made box. Some boxes are bigger than others. Every religion is a box. Every philosophy, it isn't just religions. Quantum physics is a box. It's totally flawed because it's based on vibrating string. The concept of string theory is flawed.
But remember, if the data's not there, then there's no proof.
Well, it's all theory anyway. That's what's wild. But my point is that many, even the scientific theories, are so obsessed with matter, they can't see beyond that box. Even science creates a box because they're so obsessed with form and matter. They don't understand, many of them, that the physical universe is only 1/10 of 1% of the universe itself.
Yeah, but then, I mean, many of them are living quite content lives where they feel they don't need to look at these subjects because they're quite happy.
Well, that's true, and that's each person's choice. But if you want to know the answers are always found inward through consciousness. Consciousness is always the center point of reality. And that's what we're talking about here, isn't it?
Yes.
What's the nature of reality? The nature of reality is always consciousness. Consciousness creates it all. There's nothing. Look, what happens when we die? We can't take anything with us, can we? Except one thing, our state of consciousness. That's the only thing we have. That's the only thing that's important. And that's what we work with when we have an out-of-body experience. That's what we're developing. That's what you're developing in meditation. This is the path to the answers. It's through our internal path, through our multidimensional self, through our state of consciousness.
Yeah.
Because this is all we have.
And in your books as well, where you do talk about some of the tools that we can use to have an OB, don't you?
Yes, I do. I talk about 40 different methods to initiate an out-of-body experience. For different people have different strengths, and it's not one shoe doesn't fit all. You have to determine: can you use your imagination well? Can you visualize well? Are you tactile? There's different techniques that will work better for different kinds of people. But the point is, this is not about beliefs. There's no beliefs attached to this. Matter of fact, the first thing I teach in my workshops is to let go of all beliefs and just be open and just do the techniques and be open to whatever happens.
Right, okay. And obviously you work quite closely, well, very closely with the Monroe Institute. And just remind people about that institute, just in case they don't know too much about it.
Well, the Monroe Institute was created 40 years ago by Robert Monroe. And it is the premier consciousness research institute in the United States, by far. That's what it's focused on, is the exploration of consciousness, the expansion of consciousness. That's all that is done there. Different programs approach it from different perspectives. There's a lot of research about the nature of consciousness. I teach the OBE program there. I'm the trainer, and I teach a program called Out of Body Exploration Intensive. It's a 6-day program that teaches people how to explore beyond their physical body in full consciousness. And this is what we specialize in. Everybody's in it. It's a very specialized place. We use very, very sophisticated sound technologies. It's commonly called, to the public, it's called hemisync. But we incorporate experimental sound technologies, and everyone is in their own check unit. And they experience not only, let's just say, the total immersion of consciousness into their intention to move beyond their body. And we use tools like sound to synchronize the two hemispheres of the brain, which aids people to go into these altered states easily. And these classes are, most of the classes, the one that I teach is 6 days long. It's about immersion, about total immersion and exploration of consciousness with no limits, no beliefs. Let's just do the work. Let's learn how to expand consciousness with no limits, no boxes. And it's exciting. It's an exciting class. I love to teach it. I've been there now for 5 years. And people come from all over the world to go to the Monroe Institute.
I bet they do. No, I bet they do as well. And your website, and where can people get your books from as well?
My website is www.astralinfo.org. My books are available. My books are always available on Amazon through Kindle. And my books are in 12 languages, everywhere from, it's in all kinds of languages. The new book is now, Adventures in the Afterlife, has just recently become available as a Kindle. So they're readily available everywhere, including the UK.
Okay. Well, we'll put links to all your sites and books and everything on the website. So I'd just like to say, William Buhlman, it's been a fascinating interview and I've really enjoyed your company. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's my pleasure.
Well, William Buhlman, thank you so much for joining us today. Well, we've come to an end on today's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on the More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new daily shows. You may also find out more on all past and upcoming